It'll be one to go this time by. Coming to the green, buddy, coming to the green. Let's go get him. Go, 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 Dick, 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 go, 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 go.
Get your motor running. Head out on the highway.
Nighttime practice, you're not going to get any, you know that, and you knew that coming in here. What do you do in an afternoon or a midday practice or late afternoon practice session to try to anticipate what a track's going to be when you're racing on it, or is there anything you can do?
I guess it's not really as extreme as where you have it Charlotte and other places, but you just work on getting the front end to work really, really good. If the car gets a little bit too free, you don't really get too worried about that because the later starting will allow for more grip. So we've been setting our cars up pretty loose at the mile-and-a-half tracks, and it seems to be working pretty good for us. I think we got a little bit too far into that at Michigan, so Tony Junior's going to tone it down a little bit, but having no laps on this track prior with the COT, we really had to work on the front end and get it where we needed for the bump stops and the splitter and everything to be where it needs to be. When we first went out there, we had too much of this and not enough of that, and we adjusted on a lot of that stuff to get the car to driving better. But I don't know what it's going to do as far as on the long run. Hopefully tomorrow we'll get some laps. These cars have a tendency of doing different things. Sometimes they get looser the longer you run. Sometimes they get tighter. But like I said, a mile and a half, so we've been pretty fortunate and had some pretty good setups and got a really good baseline that we seem to take everywhere that works really well. And I expect that to be the same case this weekend.
Jerry Bunkowski, Yahoo Sports. Junior, in the history of NASCAR, two names are at the top of the list, Earnhardt and Petty. This is the 50th anniversary of Richard's first race. What does it mean to NASCAR to have him be around that long, and what has he meant to you? If maybe you can maybe even think about your best story about Richard, too, as well.
Yeah. You know, Richard's a huge icon in the sport, and for him to still be as accessible as he's been, if you're in the garage and around the sport every weekend, he's there. And a guy of his age and with what he's done to the sport doesn't necessarily have to be in that position, but he tends to still maintain a really visible persona, I guess. You know, it's really cool. It's really neat. I like it. I like the fact that he's still seemingly involved and conscious of where the sport is, not only with his own company but the sport as a whole. You know, I don't have an extensive relationship with Richard. You know, being that when you look up to somebody, so you know when you look up to somebody like a lot of guys do, when they look up to Richard, you don't really go seek out conversations with him so much, you know, because he just seems so busy and seems on his way all the time. But when he talks to you, it really makes you feel good, really gives you a good feeling when he says hey to you or whatever, or acknowledges you. Or so it means a lot to me when he does that. But I can't imagine what that man's seen and done, and to be able to go back in time and spend a race weekend with him in the 60s and 70s would be just amazing. So you know, he's really seen a lot, and I don't, you know, hopefully one of these days he'll really be ready to tell that whole story, and we'll all be able to read it and understand and know a lot more about the man himself.
Lee Spencer, Fox Sports. When you talk about Tony Stewart going to Haas and having that caliber of a driver in a car that you guys are deriving information for, whether it's chassis or engines, how important is the quality of driver of the teams, as opposed to just 2 additional drivers in there. Not to take anything away from those guys, but when you have a driver like Tony, the kind of data that you get back, or the kind of information you get back from him, how important is that to elevating your information?
Well, I think Tony knows it's pretty important when you're working with teammates, and you build a trust in what the other teammate's saying and what he's telling you, and what to believe, and you want to believe what he's telling you when he says things about his car and what's helped it, and when he's explaining what his car's doing, you want to believe every word he says, and you want to really have faith in that and be able to hopefully apply it with the same results. Understands that just as much as most of us do. He's had some pretty good teammates, and he has some teammates that have had success, and I'm sure he's banked on them a few times. So the thing that he's got a lot of little variables that he's probably got this long checklist of things that are important to him as he takes on this new opportunity, and I'm sure obtaining or maintaining, however you want to put it, a teammate that he is very confident in and feels like will be an asset is very important. I know that he's probably got a great eye for talent, and he probably understands exactly what kind of person and what kind of driver he's looking for, and it must be I know he's probably in for a lot of headaches and a lot of stress, but it's got to be exciting to be able to pull those handles, and be able to work, be able to drive the boat. So,
You think Hendrick will get better information back from Haas now, though, when they have better drivers behind the wheel?
I was surprised. I don't know. Haas is a pretty good little program. I think that, unfortunately, with the change that's being made and Tony going over there, there's a little bit of there's a little rhetoric of labeling Haas as a substandard or below standard team, and yeah, I mean they don't get results like they should or won't. But when I first worked with them at Atlanta before the season started, I was surprised at not only how much information we were sending down the pipe. They were at the other end of the garage, but I was surprised at how much information they readily had available to them of ours, and how much of their information and what they thought of our changes. They would try a lot of things that we were doing, and I was surprised at how quickly that got back to us, and so it seemed like there's a you get a quarter away in the season, and you're talking to Tony Jr. and you're constantly asking you're consistently asking questions week in and week out about your other teammates, and rarely would I remind myself or even think to ask about the 70 or the 66, because you're just so used to what's the 24 doing, what is the 48 half air pressures, well, we got this camera, what camera's the 5 using, and Tony Jr. every once in a while would spout out a change or a thing or something that the Haas teams had done that helped, and you're reminded of the connection between the two programs. So I think Tony's going to really enjoy that. It's really strong, stronger than you would probably imagine as far as the information going back and forth.
We got David, Jim, and then Jeff.